Welcome back to Profit Playfield, where we break down the biggest market movers so you can stay ahead of the game. If you're new here, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for your weekly dose of stock market insights. This week, the stock market experienced notable volatility. The S&P 500 closed at 5,941.8, reflecting a modest increase of less than 1% from the previous close. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ended 43,428.02 after a 1.7% drop earlier in the week. The tech-heavy Nasdaq composite also faced challenges, slipping 2.2% to finish at 19,524.01. On Monday, Trump's trade war escalated after the president announced a 10% tariff on all Chinese imports and 25% tariffs on EU, European Union goods. Markets reacted overall negatively, with the S&P 500 opening 1.2% lower, fearing potential retaliation from China and the EU, alongside other macroeconomic factors earlier last week. Apple announced a $500 billion investment plan for the U.S. economy, pledging to build an AI server factory in Texas, creating 20,000 new jobs in response to these Chinese potential tariffs. Overall market uncertainty, Apple stock gained 2.1% in contrast to the rest of the market in early trading. On Tuesday, February 25th, news released that the U.S. economy grew 2.3% in Q4 of 2024, exceeding expectations. The Nasdaq gained 1.7%, reversing early week losses, while the S&P 500 rose 1.2%. Nvidia's earnings were in the after hours of market close, where Nvidia reported a 73% revenue increase, but despite these strong earnings, the stock fell 3.7%, billions and billions of dollars, due to fears of potential U.S. government restrictions on AI chip exports to China and other macroeconomic shifts impacting Nvidia and their market. On Wednesday, President Trump warned Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that Ukraine was gambling with World War III. Markets briefly dropped just under 1%, but recovered by the afternoon as investors dismissed the statement as political rhetoric. The U.S. Consumer Confidence Index fell at its fastest pace in 3 years, with inflation expectations rising to 3%. Analysts fear tariffs could lead to higher prices affecting consumer spending across the board. On Thursday, February 27th, following Nvidia's post-earnings dip earlier in the week, the entire tech sector saw declines, with Tesla losing 2.5%, Microsoft losing 1.8%, and Alphabet losing 2.3%, all losing ground. Friday saw a mixed stock market week. The S&P 500 finished flat. The Dow Jones dropped 1.7% for the week, which is quite significant. And even more significant is the Nasdaq fell 2.2%, weighed down by overall tech weakness, especially within the Magnificent Seven, who dropped earlier in the week. Analysts expect higher volatility in March due to ongoing trade policy uncertainties, potential Federal Reserve rate hikes, and increased corporate earnings pressure. Okay, now taking a look at my portfolio, as previously mentioned, the S&P 500 fell nearly 1% this week alongside the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The Nasdaq also fell quite significantly. My defensive stocks performed the best in my portfolio this week. Berkshire Class B shares were up 7%. Schwab's dividend fund was up 1%, and Chevron Energy Company was up 1%. Meanwhile, the more tech-heavy stocks in my portfolio, such as Nvidia, was down 7% in reaction to the earnings. I believe it's a oversell, so we will see it bounce back within the next week or two, in my opinion. AIQ is my global AI ETF. It was down 5%, which is quite significant this week, so I'm buying that dip. And Google, one of the most undervalued stocks, in my opinion, and you can look at the PE ratio on the Magnificent Seven. So definitely keep an eye out for that. This week, one of my items in my watch list hit a 52-week high, but none reached a 52-week low. So still pretty stable, and there is growth. 7 of these stocks in my portfolio were decliners. 4 were advancers this past week, making up 36% increased by Friday's close. I added no new stocks, and I didn't remove any of my holdings. Berkshire hit a 52-week high at $513.83 a share, up 7% for the week, as previously mentioned. Very defensive with Warren Buffett and his huge cash stockpile. Here's some numbers here for the top performers this week and what their last price was with the change. Same side with Nvidia being down to 124 at previously 140. AIQ previously at 42, now at 39. Google previously at 190, down to 170. A snapshot, I mean, it's pretty in line in general with the sectors. 2 to 5 sectors in my watch list held more gainers than decliners. So overall, there was a lot of decline. And by stocks, my individual stock holdings were down 1%. ETFs, quite significant this week, were over 1.5%. Quick overview of the map of my portfolio this past week. My biggest holdings being in ETFs of VOO and AIQ. They were down quite significantly, as previously mentioned. VOO is following S&P 500. It was down nearly 1%. My defensive stocks in financials and insurance, such as Berkshire and Schwab's dividend fund, were up quite significantly this week. Berkshire hitting a new all-time high. Discover Financial Services, financial stock, away from tech, also was increasing alongside Chevron. Tech stocks, every single one of them got hit pretty heavy, including SoFi, Google, Nvidia, AI, and Amazon, Meta. They all dropped quite significantly. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more weekly content. I upload videos at least once to twice a week. The updates are consistent every week on Sunday, Monday. What do you think about this upcoming week? Do you think there will be more tariff talks or political drama that pulls down the market? Or do you think alongside the market rebounds seen already in the futures of after hours, do you think the market will run up this week? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. This is Zach from Profit Playfield. See you next week.